Currently, in Pakistan, high-level delegations from the United States and Iran are engaged in formal negotiations. On paper, these meetings are designed to stabilize the region following the intense violence of the 12-day war. The American president has described the situation as a completed victory. He has publicly claimed that the U.S. effectively defeated the country and achieved its primary goals without the strict necessity of a formal deal. To support this, he has cited reports of tankers once again loading up with American oil and gas, suggesting that the economic maritime routes have been secured. However, simultaneous to these diplomatic discussions, flight radar and troop movements indicate a different reality. The U.S. is currently moving strategic aircraft and monitoring systems from Europe into West Asia. The Iranian delegation remains openly skeptical. Their representatives have noted that for nearly 5 decades, they have seen a pattern of negotiations being used as a backdrop for further hostility, leaving them with little reason to trust the current process. This creates a jarring friction. While the words in Pakistan focus on peace, the logistics on the ground are shifting toward a renewed military posture. Iran's participation in these talks is largely an exercise in international optics. By remaining at the table, they aim to demonstrate to the global South that they are the side pursuing a solution, while framing any future escalation as the fault of U.S. dishonesty. The U.S. is under pressure to secure a minimal victory to save face before elections, keeping energy prices from spiraling. Any deal shifts the status quo. Iran now asserts control over these lanes, requiring U.S. vessels to pay tolls and operate under Iranian oversight. This limited commercial access comes after the U.S. sustained significant losses in Qatar, where early detection systems were shredded and casualty estimates reached into the hundreds. Because both nations are using the peace process to pursue divergent strategic goals, the current ceasefire lacks the foundational agreement necessary for a long-term resolution. To determine leverage, we must perform a military audit, weighing outcomes against initial objectives. The primary ambition for the U.S.-Israeli axis was dismantling the Iranian establishment. Following 12 days of conflict, that establishment remains completely intact and internally unified. Historically, the U.S. was able to preserve a puppet government in the region by bringing the Shah to power. That level of control has proved impossible to replicate in the modern era. Other core objectives, the total eradication of Iran's nuclear program and the neutralization of their missile batteries, also went unachieved. In fact, Iran's strategic infrastructure survived the entire campaign largely operational. In contrast, Iranian strikes successfully reached energy infrastructure inside Israel and tore through high-level U.S. radar systems in Qatar, leaving gaps in regional surveillance. In asymmetric conflict, if an aggressor fails to achieve its primary goals and the defender refuses to surrender, the result is a strategic failure for the attacking force. The pressure for a new round of fighting is being driven primarily by the internal crisis facing Benjamin Netanyahu. Without a clear victory, his political standing continues to erode, with domestic polls turning against his party. The Israeli leadership, therefore, has a clear incentive to reject a permanent ceasefire in favor of a definitive military accomplishment. This creates a direct link to the U.S. executive branch. If the administration is perceived as subservient to the Israeli political timeline, the U.S. becomes tethered to Netanyahu's need for an escalation. On the ground, the U.S. is utilizing this diplomatic window to rebuild intelligence networks that were compromised during the war, positioning assets for a potential partnered strike. However, this policy is creating friction within the American military. Some regional allies and service members are reportedly questioning the legality of a new offensive that serves foreign political interests over domestic security. The current diplomatic talks taking place in Pakistan have established a temporary buffer, but the logistical buildup and unresolved political pressures suggest this is a period of preparation for a wider regional conflict.